And they went to the extent, the British and the German Indologists, to become Sanskrit scholars. Christian missionaries came to India with only one purpose in mind: to convert the Hindus to Christians. And they became the Sanskrit scholars, and they're the ones that started interpreting and translating all the Vedic scriptures into English and other local languages with only one thing in mind: to make the scriptures look foolish. And especially Vaishnavism and the Srimad Bhagavatam, they just utterly condemned it. That look at these Hindus, they are worshiping male and female sex organs as God, and they're worshiping immoral cheaters, liars, and sex mongers as God. It is a barbaric religion. And this was what was taught in all the schools, in all the universities, even in India. And the intelligent class of Indians believed it. And at the same time, there was so much corruption. Brahmins were simply being Brahmins as a profession to make money. And even within Vaishnavism, there was so much caste consciousness, which is just total concoction, that one is, by one's birth, either fit or not fit for spiritual life. So much exploitation, sahajism, where degraded activities were taking place in the name of devotion, imitating Krishna's highest, most pristine and pure activities of Ras Lila amongst mundane people, teaching that if we perform this Ras Lila, we will become Krishna. So much degradation. And Bhakti Vinod, he was seeing all this, but he came in contact with some real Vaishnavas and he heard about Lord Chaitanya's teachings. And he was very anxious to obtain the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But in those days of the British, it hadn't been printed in so many years. It took him about 8 years to obtain a copy. And he studied it thoroughly. And he was a little attracted, his first reading through. He thought, this is very profound. This Sri Chaitanya, such a prophet he was. But why? Why all of his ecstasies and why all of his devotions are for Krishna? Because after all, from what I've been taught and from what I've heard and from what I have seen, Krishna, he was quite controversial. So why this great philosopher, Sri Chaitanya, who was the greatest philosopher in all of India, and he defeated all opposition, why he became a devotee of Krishna? And his whole life was just to propagate bhakti to Krishna. So he read Chaitanya Charitamrita again thoroughly. And upon seeing how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was utterly defeating in logic and argument on scriptural basis the Vedantists of Bemaras, establishing Krishna as the supreme Godhead, the cause of all causes, and explaining the completely pure, transcendental nature of his pastimes. He pondered and meditated and prayed deeply on the teachings and mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And instantly, within his heart, was revealed the highest realms of spontaneous ecstatic love of God. That was the time in his life when Lord Krishna wanted to reveal his original identity and his original mission in this world. But because he had such a background of other religions, one of his first preaching missions was at a time when there was great controversy, there was great bigotry, there was great spiritual unrest and prejudice among so many of the different Hindu, Muslim, and Christian sects. And because he was such a scholar, and he was so deeply learned, and he was so attractive, and he was so powerful and pure in everything he did, everyone wanted him to be on their side. The Vedantists, the Vaishnavas, the Christians, the Muslims, the atheists, they all wanted him on their side because he was the best. So he gave a lecture, and this lecture was later put into a book that he published called The Bhagavat, Its Precepts and Teachings. And he explained from the point of view of the Srimad Bhagavatam how every idea of religion is included within the Bhagavatam, how it is the synthesis of all spiritual thought, and it reveals the highest realizations of Godhead, which culminates in unmotivated, uninterrupted, loving service to Krishna, the cause of all causes, who is Rasaraj, Rasa Bihari, who is the source of all spiritual pleasure. And by doing this, he literally attracted everyone's minds to the study of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the understanding of Bhagavatam according to the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then he began to write prolifically in various languages, in such a way, with such scholarship and such realization and such love, to establish the highest truths and bring back real dignity to the true doctrine of Hinduism, and ultimately to the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is the essence of the Gita and the Bhagavat. And he was undefeatable. And he had such respect in all classes of men that he changed everyone's heart that he came in contact with. But there was so much opposition. There were threats to his life, there was threats to his family's lives, but he stood strong.
You were listening to Radhanath Swami on devotionalnectar.com.